Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to Bigfoot and Company. This is Dr. John. Hope you're doing well today. We had a great weekend this past Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Clayton, Georgia, when we had the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. It was absolutely a wonderful success. We had over 250 people there. It was at the Rabun County Convention Center, and joining me was my co-host for the event, the one and only Matt Delph. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing great.
Well, that's good. I tell you what, we had a crazy and busy weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. It was a real good weekend. I was really pleased.
I was too. I tell you what, we had a lot of great guests. We met a lot of new people and everything. So I think what I would like for us to do, let's kind of recap what all happened. Now, we started on Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. From 6 to 9, we had the meet and greet where all of the speakers were there to talk to everyone who was going to be at the conference. And Matt, you were there, along with Angelia Shear, who is the head of the executive director of Tennessee MUFON. We also had John Bruner. He was there. M&D Paranormal were there. And Israel Petty was there. I was there. We had several of the vendors. We had Melissa Pierce, who's the great artist. She was there. We had City Squatch, who has those great little Bigfoot things, and I don't know what to call them, but they were really great, and so it was good. So tell us what all you enjoyed the most about Friday, because that was a time when everyone could come talk to the speakers and meet them and everything. What did you like the most about Friday, Matt?
I was pleased at the way, just the atmosphere. You can tell when you go into a place, you can just feel, the good energy, good vibes. And when I walked in there and I seen people wandering around, chit-chatting, kind of mingling, kind of getting settled in, because a lot of times these events, you got a lot of nervous people, even with the speakers. I guess I felt really good just from our lineup of speakers that was there. They weren't all nervous, and they was relaxed, and they just interacted with the public really well, really well. And that was one of the big things I noticed at the get-go. And
absolutely,
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I'll tell a bit more. My favorite thing about the conference. But then Saturday was
the big day. That's when we started talking, and you led us off. And what were some of the things that you talked about? In fact, I think it would be great if you gave everybody a little bit of a recap of your talk. Would you mind doing that?
No, Well, I started out explaining what my group does, and I explained about what got me, about my encounter, and went from there, how it affects a person and how it will change your life. And then I just went from there, how it changed my life and how it got me into researching. And
right now I'm going to interrupt you real quick, and I'm going to say your group is MECRO, Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization. And now, where do you find MECRO? If you want to find out about what's going on with that, tell everyone how you find MECRO.
We're on Facebook. You go to MECRO and just type in. It stands for Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization, and ask to join the group or give me a friend request, Matthew Delph, and we'll link up and hook up and get to experience what we go through and help out maybe on some investigations and stuff. Love having
exactly. Right. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you have experienced as a field, because you're essentially a field investigator, and your field investigation started with your experience up in Indiana, right?
Yes. Yep. Now, see, as a field, I had to educate myself on everything that's out in the woods. A lot of people don't realize what a true boots in the field researcher has to go through. You've got to know what you're doing. You just can't take off out into the woods and playing on. It's a lot more to it. Whenever, for example, we took expedition out, there's a lot of people you could tell, just the general public, they got a feel for it. I used to go miles into the woods, and just as a field researcher, you've got to ways of the forest. You've got to know your surroundings. You've got to get in and you're trekking through the woods like that. It's pretty strenuous. You got to deal with ticks, deal with snakes. There's a lot more to it than what people believe. And as researching, I had to educate myself first. I didn't just go take off into the woods and start hunting for Bigfoot. I had to.
Oh, you didn't, huh?
No. I had to educate myself on what I was looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, then how are you gonna find something? And that's where it all comes down. Education first is the biggest key. And I had to educate myself on all the wildlife so that way you can separate what this is and what it is, what you're dealing with. What kind of track makes this. And I love that a lot of great feedback from our expedition that I led. The stuff that they learned that they didn't know. Now, I've got one weakness, and that's scat. I won't go through and dig through a pile of scat that's laying there. But I actually had one guy on our expedition who got down there and did it. And I told him that, have at it. That's my weakness right there. But, that's a big part of it, too, is, you got to learn what makes what. I know pretty much, the ins and outs of it, but to get down and get your hands dirty in that, I'll leave that up to somebody else. That's why I like having my group, Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization. Maybe I'd find somebody else to dig through there for me. But,
well, that's what volunteers are for, right?
Yeah. Yep, they definitely know their crap.
That's right. We'll move on from that statement, Matt. but yeah, and also, why don't you? I'm sorry. Say that again. No, I was going to say, why don't you tell us a little bit about? You took a group of people out on Sunday morning. We started out with a breakfast provided by the Rabun County Public Library, which was wonderful, and I really appreciate. They had sausage biscuits, bacon biscuits, and all kinds of stuff. So they did a great job on that. We really appreciate what they did. And then you told them a little bit about what they were going to experience, and you went out and experienced it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you told them, and then what you guys did when you got in the woods, and where did you go?
Okay, I started out, since that area there, I'm not real familiar with it, but the place that I originally had planned for us to go, some of the local people in that area, because I'd scouted it out and I figured it'd be a great hike because it's a waterway, stuff like that. But I was told that area was high in timber rattles this time of year. So I kind of had to change my course. The route that I had planned on got all sidetracked. And they said that area, it's one guy, that fellow researcher, he told me that he actually got dry bit by a timber rattler down there. So I didn't want to put anybody like that, the public like that, in danger. So we rerouted to an area that it was a nature trail, and there'd been sightings in that area, and there was a small hike to a waterfall, and I took them up to the waterfall, and a lot of them, they didn't quite realize hiking up just this little bit of area is pretty rough on you. So, and a lot of them, some of them were struggling. So we decided to reroute from the waterfall. We got to see the waterfall. And then a fellow researcher of mine, he's like, let's take them to this one place. He said, we can drive most of the way up there. So we drive all the way up there, and we get up there. We can drive up there to the top, go miles back in there. And so, and it's more flat. And right there is where we started finding stuff. Pretty active spot. Showed them how to. We actually found some tracks. Showed them how to look for trackways through the woods. We got what we call big boy trails. Is where a Bigfoot will cut in and out, and it's for the larger adult travel, and you can tell that it's a large adult traveling through there because we had many high tree breaks, and that were green trees. If you've ever tried to grab a tree that's still green, what they make, bows and stuff out of, you can bend it way down, and it's going to flop right back up. Well, we found lots of high tree breaks up there, like something I just walked through about 7.5, 8 foot tall up into the air through the trail, and found it probably in between 6, 7 foot. So we know there wasn't no bear. It wasn't a bear. A bear wouldn't climb up there. A bear would actually pull the whole tree down over. So it's something that was walking by had reached up and grabbed it. And I showed them how to identify and look for that. And a lot of them was really impressed. They had seen, they actually got to experience some of the stuff. And we had actually had one, I told them to make a whoop call. And so they went ahead and they made a whoop call, and we got a response. And where we had a group, what was great about it was not only did we heard once right where we were at, but another researcher that was on the back side of the trail said that there was actually 2 of them and had a knock accompanying it. So it was a really good day. And people were happy. They got to, they got to learn. Basically, the hike, it's a lot more than what you think, just to go stand in the woods and you're going to find Bigfoot. But they got to experience what to look for, a lot of things that they didn't know. I keep getting feedback right now from the expedition about how them and their families are still talking about it and how they loved it and stuff that they didn't know and stuff about tracking they didn't know. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it.
Right. Now, this was not some kind of a pre-made thing. You actually took them in the woods because you were looking for Bigfoot. And there, as I said, there's no pre-made anything. You took them out there to try to see what you could find, correct? Correct.
We took them out, and I told them this is what we're looking for. So everybody kind of had to keep their eyes open and educate them on, okay, we're looking for this and that. So, and I heard that we found wild boar or something had ate it, and that's where the thing comes in. There's a lot of rooting going on all over there. Something ate a wild boar, and in this pile of scat there was boar hair. Now, I didn't go digging through it. We had another person wanted to dig through it. I said, go at it. And it wasn't but probably a few days old because there was vegetation, green vegetation in it also. So we had long, 4 or 5 inch long hair mixed in with vegetation in it. And so it wasn't real, a couple of days old. But it was a good trip.
Well, that's good. You know, I'm glad everyone had a good time. I know it was a lot of fun. I heard the comments, and they were all really positive, so that was good. Now, I want to go over a little bit, and you heard the talks probably a little more than I did because I was busy trying to take care of logistics and everything. But anyway, we had your talk. Rick Rellis, tell us a little bit about what Rick talked about.
Rick was he was explaining tree structures. He's got a little book out on it, and he'll go through and he'll show what to look for in tree structures, how to tell if it's man-made or not man-made, but if it's nature or if it's something else, whether it be man or Bigfoot. He breaks it down how you can tell if something is actual nature or if it's something that has been constructed. And you would have to have hands. He explained, what type of structures, how you can tell if it's a man that done it or a Bigfoot or something that had a thumb to grip it. He showed how they would interweave stuff, and he went through a lot of that. And he's just, I need to know anything about tree structure, that's the guy I'd go to.
He's a really ingenious guy. He is, and I've seen some of his slides because he did a presentation about this at the Tennessee Bigfoot Conference, and that was a lot of fun. I got to hear most of that. So yeah, that was really wonderful. Now our wonderful friend Angelia Shear, she is the executive director of Tennessee MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, and she's the head of Parashear Research, and she's from Nashville, and truly one of the nicest people in the world, isn't she, Matt?
Oh, yes, she is. She works with me she's part of MECRO also, and she's my UFO girl. Anything Bigfoot UFO related goes straight to her. And that's what she done her presentation on. I didn't get to listen to it because I was at the library during her time. But I knew about the presentation and about the cross encounter and everything, and I heard a lot of people talking about it being really good too. And she had put a lot of time and research into that to prepare it. So, and all I heard was good on that.
Yeah, and I will say I'm going to interject here. You were on Saturday night. You were out in the woods doing some tracking and getting ready for Sunday. Well, I took Angelia and her partner, Dale Houston, out to Lakemont, Georgia, on the hill to one of the dome houses where I was staying. And if I may, Matt, I'd like to tell the story about the land that I took them to. She said she was calling you saying, John is taking me out into the middle of nowhere. I mean, she said we're up hills, down hills, on gravel roads, and I was kind of laughing. Didn't she? She was calling you up, wondering what was going on.
It was funny because she goes, you might see some activity out here. She said, you should have come with it. Like I said, I already had prior plans to go
exactly.
Into
but what happened? What happened is we went way out to Farside Drive in Lakemont, Georgia, to the home of Will Rodriguez. Will is a friend of mine, number one. Number two, he has an Airbnb. He has a cabin where I stayed, and he has an indoor room. I would never stay in an indoor room in Lakemont, Georgia, when I could be out there in the woods and stay scared all night long. And I tell you what, you talk about hearing things. He has several dogs, and I can tell you this Sunday night, his dogs went crazy, and it was right next to the house, and I heard a long, low growl, and I didn't know what it was, but I kept that door locked. I was not going to go outside. And so anyway, the land that Will has his house built on was in the early 70s. A gentleman from Clayton, Georgia, was out in Lakemont, which is about 10 miles away, and he found a UFO. And what he did was he went back into town and got his friends. And a number of people did that 10-mile trek. And back then there was no road. You had to do it on horseback, or you had to walk it. But so they all did it on horseback. and they went and saw the UFO. They camped out there, and the UFO stayed there for 4 days. They were going back and forth, taking turns watching it. And then there was a short time when they weren't there. They came back, and the UFO was gone. Well, it created quite a stir in the local newspapers, and a gentleman named Peter Kelly bought that hill. It was a mountain, and he started building dome houses. He did monolithic domes, which means you take basically a large balloon, inflate it, and then pour concrete around it and finish it on the inside, and that's how you create your dome house. And they're quite beautiful. It's the largest dome community in the world. And so it's quite a spiritual place. The houses are not right next to each other. So you can go outside in one of the dome houses and look, and you won't see anything else. It's really beautiful. It's quite spooky. So I took Angelia and Dale and a couple other folks from the conference out there. We had a bonfire. We talked about it. We heard sounds. We heard dogs. We heard things that we could not identify making noises in the woods. So it was really a lot of fun. And I know that she and Dale enjoyed it. I did too, but then I had to go to bed in that cabin right next to the house, and it was pretty spooky. As I told someone said, well, why didn't you just stay in a hotel? I said, well, why would you stay in a hotel when you could be scared all night long and Bigfoot could come knocking on your door?
Exactly.
Am I right,
now,
Matt? I mean, why would you, when you have a chance to do that, I mean, you spent your Saturday night out in the woods, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I was out till, I probably got back at 3, well, it was probably close to 4 o'clock in the morning. I think I left at 3:30 in the morning. And I got some activity that night. I can't tell.
Absolutely.
I can't tell the people that was, I can't give away a whole lot of detail because it's a private search thing, but I can tell a little bit about what happened, I guess, couldn't I?
Yeah, absolutely. What happened? You went out there and ...
And we get out there, and we're out here in the middle of nowhere. There's no other people up there or anything like that. And it's kind of cool because something I didn't think about, but a fellow researcher, they put a recorder on their vehicle to see if they can record anything while we're gone around their vehicle while we're gone. And it was excellent. I was like, yeah, I'm glad, these people are my friends and fellow researchers because that's pretty smart. But we get trekking out through there, and not a whole lot going on. They're showing me a little bit of the area, and we're going through there. And then on the way back, there's crickets, and, the woods is alive.
Right.
I'd say it's probably about 2:30 in the morning. We start heading back towards the vehicle, and I stop and I notice I'm listening. I'm like, you guys notice that? And they're like, what? I'm like, the woods is completely silent. And they're like, yeah, it is, And
good observation, Matt.
Prior to the woods going quiet and stuff, though, a couple of them thought they had seen lights in there. I didn't see any lights, but there was a couple of them that said that they had seen a light over this way or that way, And I thought that was kind of interesting. But a friend, another researcher, he grabs a couple rocks, and he does like a little clack sound with the rocks. Well, immediately following that, something takes this huge, huge rocks and slams them together 3 times, and we're talking loud. And it's coming up from this embankment, and he slams them together really hard, or whatever it was had slammed them together. It wasn't, you could tell it was something hitting together really hard, and it was big and loud because it come all the way down through that holler up to us. And, of course, we get excited, and we're like, oh, wow, we're looking up in there. And then we didn't hear nothing. And you could tell it wasn't something wasn't tossed down because you didn't hear any leaves. It wasn't a tree fall. It wasn't nothing like that. You can tell the difference between something solid just being banged against something 3 solid times compared to if something was rolling down a hill or rolling down, you would hear multiple. It wouldn't just be 3 solid, loud slam sound. So we're excited. We're looking around. We're thinking this thing, okay, whatever's up here, it's trying to show us it's an alpha, it's the main thing. Well, they do a couple more little rock clacks, and we didn't get nothing in.
Now your team does a couple more knocks, correct?
Yes, we do a couple more.
Yeah, just want to make sure that we know where we are. So now your team kind of responds with a couple knocks, and then continue, please.
Okay, yeah, we respond with a couple little knocks. We don't hear nothing else. Well, on the bank behind us, it's a little embankment because we're on the road going back to the vehicle. And we're pretty close. We're right there at the vehicles at this point. But up on the hill behind me, we hear movement. And so we start listening, and a lot of times I noticed that when we walked, it walked, and it would stop when we would stop. And we'd walk in and go, and we're like, do you guys hear that? And they're like, yeah, we hear it. And so we do a couple more little clacks, and whatever made the big response back with the louder knocks didn't respond. Now, I'm listening to the thing behind me, and we kind of write it off because it's something pretty small. You can hear it walking, but it's small. So we assume it's a fox that's curious or something that's come to the edge of the woods, kind of just walking along, seeing what we're up to or whatever, because you can hear it going through the woods there as we go. Well, we're kind of frustrated because we ain't got nothing else back from whatever made that huge loud bang in response to our wooden or our clacks. So I take this big rock. I pick up this big rock. And I'm like, okay, this will make some noise. And I chuck it down into this ravine. When I chuck it down into the ravine, and it hits a tree that's been down, bangs off that, and then it hits down into the. It's pretty loud. It made a lot of noise. It echoed off that tree and then hit something else, and then you can hear it going down through the rest of the little ravine there, going through the leaves and everything. Really loud.
Yeah. Now, Matt, real quickly, about how big was this rock?
The rock that I tossed, I would say it was the size. It was probably about the half size of a basketball. So.
Okay. All right. So probably about 5 or 6 inches. 5 or 6 inches in diameter.
I'd say it probably weighed about 10 to 12 pounds.
Okay, good. That just gives us an idea. Okay.
And so I chuck it down in there, and then not even is less than 15 seconds. Whatever was on the hill chucks a rock that was behind us. So, and it wasn't. As soon as I done that, all of a sudden that thing throws a rock and we hear it. Bang, bang, bang. And we couldn't tell. We didn't see the rock after it threw it, but it startled us. I mean, it scared us because it was behind us. And whenever that rock hit and it bounced, you could hear it going through the leaves there. Whatever it was took off from up there. And so we're assuming, I mean, I don't know what else would. We know a fox wouldn't throw a rock,
Well, yeah.
I mean, especially, we weren't expecting that at all. And so, of course, we all like, wow, it's like it tried to mimic what I had just done. And so, a lot of try to white fight it just to see. And we didn't see it or anything after that, and it took off after that. But it was pretty exciting. And the fellow researcher that had the little recorder, he had told me this morning, actually, that he was listening to the recording. and he was hearing some movement while we were out in the woods around the vehicle and stuff. He said it sounded like something was sniffing around the recorder and the vehicles. You know, it could be anything, but it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting night. And then after that, after it got really quiet and activity, you know, kind of slowed down to a halt right after whatever it was on that bank to that rock, then, you know, it mellowed out from there. But it was still exciting. So we know something's up there that can throw a rock, for sure.
All right, now I'm gonna start quizzing you about this. What can throw a rock? Well, a fox can't. Any animal on 4 feet can likely not throw a rock. Correct?
Correct. And
so now,
the thing of it, it had to have something. I mean, first thing we thought was juvenile Bigfoot because it was light. It was light walking through the woods there.
Okay.
And we know it wasn't something that it wasn't just pushed down or knocked down because it hit some trees on that bank that when it's coming through. So it was up high and it hit the trees, and as it hit the side of the bank and it started coming down through there. So we know for a fact that it wasn't, so it was tossed up. It didn't come straight down like if it got pushed off or something like that. It was up in the air, then come down. So it went up in the air first and then come down. And it was like he just mimicked it. So, you know, first thing that we're going to think is assume would be a juvenile, be a younger Bigfoot. We had thought something had crossed the path over whenever we were coming back through. That's where they thought they had seen another light. So it was pretty interesting.
Now, when they talk, now, real quickly, when they talk about having seen another light, I mean, did you get any details from them about what kind? I mean, I know a light's a light, but I mean, was it muted? Was it bright? Was it moving? How high off the ground was it? What kind of details do you have about that light?
We had 2 of them that had seen the light, and they thought it wasn't. Most time, if you're out in the woods, you use a red light. It's a white light. First, they thought it was bigger than a lightning bug light. It was more like if somebody had a mag light or something like that had just shined the light. And they said, there's a light. I didn't see it, but another one did. Both of them seen it, and they were standing like at different angles. So, and they said the light, they would point down to where it was. And I'd say it was probably about in between 6 to 8 foot, somewhere in between that range, the height that they were talking, but it was kind of down that ravine where we heard that big clack, that big slamming sound in response. So I don't know what it was. I mean, I didn't see it because I was looking off in a different direction, but the 2 that had seen it, one was on the other side of me, and the other one was in the back of the back behind us, trailing us, that had seen it. And they had come up and they said, she'd like, did you see that light? And the other one, I was like, I didn't. And then other researchers like, I didn't see it. And then the one in the back come up and asked if we had seen the light. So they didn't even hear us. They're like, I seen the light over here. Did you guys see that light? So we had 2 different people that didn't know. The one that was trailing come up to us and asked us if we seen the light. So they had seen it too, the one trailing.
Gotcha. And so there were the 3 of you, and there were 2 of you relatively close together, and then a little farther back was the team member that was trailing the 2 of you, correct?
Well, there was 4 of us actually. There was 3 up front, and we had 1 trailing. And the 3 up front, one had seen it and asking myself and another one if they had seen it, and me and the other one didn't see it. But then the one trailing come up and asked if the three of us had seen it because they had seen something.
Now, was the color of the light white or some kind of a muted white light kind of thing, or did it have color like red or green?
No, they said it was like a white, like a yellow light, like if you had a flashlight, like a mag light or something. I guess that'd be white, wouldn't it? I'm colorblind,
Yeah.
so.
White or a light yellow. Yeah.
Yep,
Well, that's very interesting. And no, in total, how much time did you spend? What time did you get to the woods, and what time did you end your expedition?
And we got out there probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock that night, and we come out of there about 3:30. So we spent a good 4 or 5 hours in there.
Okay, and in terms of distance, how much do you think you covered? Was it maybe 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles? About how much distance did you cover in your quest?
Well, we were able to drive up to the location that we were going. So off the main highway, we're talking probably a good 8 miles back into the woods. And then where we walked, it wasn't real far. It was probably a mile in and out, if that. But where we were going slower and listening and trying to get responses and stuff like that, then that's where, we took our time and was listening to the woods, listening to our surroundings, looking for tracks, and so forth.
Now this is a question that I like to ask. Were you ever interrupted by cell phones? I mean, were you out of cell phone range in general?
I lost cell phone service probably 20 miles before the area that we got to. So I had no cell phone whatsoever.
Then I know exactly where you were. You were likely right on the Georgia-South Carolina border, weren't you?
It wasn't quite there. It was, I don't know how to explain that. I have to look it up. But we were deep. Like I said, I don't want to give too much information, but it was back in there pretty far. It was more north, kind of. It was up toward. It was more west, but it wasn't quite to the South Carolina, but it was kind of northern too. So I'm just going to say, let's just say it's in the northern eastern part of Georgia there that we were at, since a lot of research is going on around that area.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Well, it sounds like you had a good time. You had some things happen, which is important. I mean, and you know this. You've been out there. Have you ever been out there and nothing happened? I'll bet you have.
Oh gosh, plenty of times. Plenty of times. That's the thing I tried to tell the people whenever we go out for looking. If you're going out researching. I've been researching this thing for 20 plus years. I've had one visual sighting. Got stuff on FLIR, stuff like that, but that don't count. I don't consider it unless you actually see it with the naked eye. And I'm in the woods all the time, and I'm miles in. I've only seen one mountain lion in the wild. I've seen plenty of bears because they're a lot more active, stuff like that. But Bigfoot population is a lot less than the bear and the mountain lion and so forth. So to find this animal, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, especially how thick these forests are and where there's nobody up in there. So you're traveling out there. I mean, it's kind of like even deer hunting. You go out, you see how many deer are out there. The population of deer is really, really super high. How many times do you go out in the woods?
It's gigantic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you'll go out into the woods and it's not even see a deer. So you're talking about something that is so rare and on extinct. If you get to see an actual sighting for yourself, then it's kind of like winning the lottery. That's how that is how elusive this animal. A lot of it due to the where they're at, their terrain, and the small population, and they're super smart. You know, they know how to avoid it.
You know, and I've got to say something. When you talk about how many deer there are and how few we see them, I'm 50 years old. I have seen 2 deer on the road that have run into and partially destroyed my car. And, you know, I drive a lot. And, you know, if you think about driving, I guess when I got down to South Carolina where we had, you know, a big deer population and all my travels to all the events that I go to, I have only had 2 deer run out in front of me. And in 25 years, you know, when someone say, well, you don't ever see the Bigfoot carcasses, well, I mean, my goodness, we've seen 2 deer. And or I've seen 2 deer. They've run into my car, and then the next day they seem to be gone. So I mean, I don't think it's the road crew from Department of Transportation. So it's just amazing how many animals are out there in the woods and contact with us. You know, by virtue of just us seeing them or running into a car or something like that, and then they're gone. So all these folks that say, well, you never see a dead Bigfoot, well, you know, that's my answer to them. I mean, do you agree or disagree?
I agree totally. You never see a dead bear carcass in the wilderness. You never see a dead mountain lion carcass in the wilderness.
Why? Now, why is that? You know, bears do die. They pass away, Matt. Otherwise, we'd be filled with them. Why don't we see dead bear carcasses? What's your take on that?
Well, the wilderness pretty much takes care of it on its own. Within 7 days, I've watched a video. They've got it on YouTube, I believe, and they had actually tied a deer carcass to the ground, and they had strapped it down so they could grab it and just carry it off. And within 7 days, the insects and everything had took effect on it. And just when it started decomposing, all the insects, everything the wilderness just takes it back. And less than 7 days, that carcass was gone. Now, if you don't have it strapped down, I'd say within 3 to 4 days it's gone. If not sooner, from other animals, predators come and eat it. They'll take off with the bones, mice and stuff. They will chew, you know, they'll eat the bones. They gnaw on them to get, you know, the vitamins and stuff out of the bones. The wilderness much takes care of it itself. And if anything's been out there in the woods, I believe it's an inch of soil for every year on top of something that has been out in the woods. So if you got something that's out there and it does happen to lay out there, if you left a necklace outside or something like that, you definitely won't find it within a year because an inch of soil is going to be on top of whatever you had out there. So less than, the carcass only lasts, like I said, less than, especially with all the predators, everything, then the wilderness just basically takes it right back. So something as elusive and rare as a Bigfoot, then it's definitely going to be gone real quick. Because it's going to be up there in areas. They already stay out in areas where, you know, population, people haven't even stepped foot on. So, and I think a lot of them too, like, if you've ever noticed like animals, like a dog gets sick, and you're living on a farm, we've had it done, you know what's happening when they're really sick, and they wander off. They go off somewhere to die. They go away from people and everything else, so they can just go and they die. So if a dog will separate itself from people and everything else to pass away, And can you imagine something living out in the woods? They're going to definitely be gone before, within 7 days out there in the middle of nowhere that people don't go regular. And a lot of people don't realize, how much wilderness is out here that people don't explore and don't even get into. I keep a couple of sightings here lately around my area, and I bring up the map to try and figure out where logging roads or something is that I can get into this area. And there is so many thousands and thousands of acres of just wilderness, caves, it's just about impossible unless you have a hot trail or a lead on something. You're just not going to walk out into the woods and see one of these things. Just like you're not going to walk out into the woods and see a mountain lion or see a bobcat, People don't take into effect. They don't quite. Now, that's a good thing about this expedition. I noticed a lot of people, actually, they kind of, this expedition I took them on was what I wouldn't even call myself getting into the deep research, because I'll hike way out there miles, I'm out there just way out there, and the terrain is rough and stuff like that. But they just got a little bit, and a lot of them thought it was strenuous. They're like, wow, I'm so exhausted, and I've walked this far. The sun, just the different things that they had to endure on this little expedition. And I think it opened a lot of their eyes, us researchers. We, the ones that are boots on the ground, not the ones that just stand in the middle of 5 minutes into the woods and say, hey, film me. We're out there, the true researchers out there trying to get answers. We are out there deep. And it is rough, very rough on them.
Now, Matt, I'm gonna make a silly comparison, but it's not silly, and I think you'll understand. For all the people within 100 miles of North Georgia, the first time they ever came together was this weekend. And if that's the first time Bigfoot enthusiasts came together ever, well, I mean, that lets you know how hard it is to find a Bigfoot. I'm just, it's just,
exactly.
if the enthusiasts, the folks that want to see them don't ever get together, well, I mean, how often are they out? Or how often are the Bigfoot really out there? It's tough, but it was a lot of fun, and we met a lot of great people. I mean, to me, one of the real highlights was a guest, Bob Wilson, better known as Grumpy. You know Grumpy, don't you?
Yep. He was on the...
and he's grumpy, but you talk about a heart of gold and what a great guy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Grumpy?
Well, I first, whenever I was doing my presentation, he'd made a few comments, and we had similarities, our beliefs and thoughts. And he was, he would comment and stuff, and I had never watched the show, but I knew about it. It was on the Travel Channel, that Killing Bigfoot. And they had a show where these guys had went out and researched and went out and hunted Bigfoot. Well, during my presentation, he was agreeing with me on just about everything I'd said. And so I actually got to meet him afterwards and personally meet him. And we had so much in common, it was crazy. So I could tell, I knew he was a boots in the field researcher, and had come across, and he viewed it the same way I did. So I knew he was, genuine. And he's a former vet. He served in the military. He's a former police officer, and fellow Bigfoot researcher, and we just kicked it off our beliefs. I mean, he was a great guy. And he was
funny. I thought he was a former police officer as well, but it turns out he's still an active duty guy. And I just found that out. Yeah. I gave him a call yesterday. Yeah, he's still an active duty police officer. So I mean, it's amazing who is out there in the field, and yeah, it was great. We met a lot of nice people, folks that we'll stay in touch with, and so I want to highly recommend to everybody that you come to the next Georgia Bigfoot Conference. It's called the Fall Georgia Bigfoot Conference. It will be October 16th through the 18th in Clayton, Georgia, at the Raven County Civic Center. Now, Matt, will you be there?
Oh, I'll be there.
Well, if you don't, I'm gonna come up to wherever you are and drag you down. Okay?
Yeah, I got to share one story. This is my favorite part.
Please.
The entire conference. Conference. After I got done with my presentation, there was this man and his child. They come walking up to me. It's father and son. They come walking up to me. This little boy, he's all excited and he's shaking, and he's got our book, Lizard Man, Bigfoot and Friends. They said they'd bought it a while back.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, and they had bought it a while back, and they ordered it off Amazon, and his boy was excited that he got to meet me. And he wanted me to sign his, of course I signed his book, and we got our picture taken together. And then his dad had said that, I guess he had posted on Facebook or whatever that, thanking me for making his little boy smile. He said, Braden putting a smile on Braden's face, that he had a great weekend, and it really made his son's weekend, and he wanted to thank me for that. And it made me realize, when we do this stuff, we've got an audience, and it affects people's lives. And it put a big smile just in my heart that this little boy was so excited that, and he was a fan of mine, that he, and I had no clue. And
yeah,
of course I've had fans and stuff, but this little boy, it's not just the people in the community. It's this stuff. So that's probably my favorite part of the whole conference, was that smile on Braden's face, and he was so excited, and he loved it. It was awesome.
Well, I can tell you, one of my most exciting things was going around yesterday in Clayton and talking to whenever I walked in, it was just so funny. It's like I had a target on my head, because I had my She Squatchers Believe shirt on, and not a soul that I saw. They all looked and said, "You were part of the Bigfoot conference, weren't you?" It was so funny, and it was great. I met a lot of great people yesterday, and it was, and just the reception I can't thank Clayton, Georgia enough for being a wonderful host, and they'll be the host long as I'm alive of the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. And it was just a lot of fun. Can't thank them enough. Can't thank you enough for being there. Angelia, Robin McCrae, who does Mind Speak, Rick Rellis, and John Bruner, M&D Paranormal, Israel Petty. And if I forgot anybody, it's not because we don't love you. It's because I just don't have the list in front of me. But I want to thank everyone that made the Georgia Bigfoot Conference just a memorable experience. We'll be back again October 16th through the 18th. Tickets go on sale tonight. Don't miss yours. And Papa Stroh will be there, and so will the She Squatchers. So they were not here this time, but they will be there next time, and just look forward to seeing all of our friends. I will be in Clayton, Georgia this Friday, meeting with some folks, trying to put together some additional guests and things for the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. So everybody have a great time. So, Matt, I want to say thanks. I'm glad you were with us. We are moving along. We are about ready to ride into the sunset for this episode of Bigfoot and Company. And I want to thank Mark Johnston, who diligently puts our episodes up on YouTube. What a great guy. He really is.
Yeah.
And he will be with us, Matt, at the October Fall Georgia Bigfoot Conference. So I look forward to having him there. The She Squatchers, Papa Stroh will be there. Angelia and Dale will be there. You and I will be there. The whole crowd will be there, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. So now, do you have anything to plug, or are you ready to ride into the sunset?
I'm looking right into the sunset. If you need me, just
You're going to ride into the sunset?
Or
okay.
Well,
Yep. MECRO, Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization. Check out Georgia Bigfoot Conference. We're going to have the announcement tonight of the tickets available. And number 1 and number 2, do not forget the scariest hour in radio, Scarycast, this coming Thursday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, and we'll have a great guest. So we've got a lot of great things going on. So, Matt, do I see you next week on Bigfoot and Company?
You will see me next week.
Actually, we won't see you. We will hear you. How's that? We'll hear you next week on Bigfoot and Company. Thanks a lot. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to all the people that helped make the Georgia Bigfoot Conference a gigantic success, and it was a lot of fun. And especially a couple people, Rabun County Events, the Rabun County Public Library, the Rabun County Chamber of Commerce, and Rabun County Tourism and Events. All those folks helped make this conference the best in the world. So we'll see everybody next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, same something or other on Bigfoot and Company. See you, buddy.
See you. Bye-bye.